This is the Body Fuel Performance and Lifestyle Nutrition Podcast. We're here to help you navigate all things nutrition, especially for sports performance, weight loss, and healthy eating. I'm your host, Andrew Dole, registered dietitian, certified executive chef, and USA Triathlon coach. Here we go. Hey everyone, Andrew with Body Fuel here. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Today is Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. You're not going to get berated by this dietitian. I hope you ate and drank and had a wonderful time and were flexible. I hope you do a little bit of that today. You got to be good 80% of the time. The other 20%, you need to go out and you need to live and have fun. Get it back on the rails this weekend. So the podcast series from here on for probably the next 2 or 3 is going to be based on female athletes. Guys, don't tune out. If you have an active daughter, if you think you might have kids, one of them might be an active daughter. If you have an active wife, this is going to be something to listen to. I'm going to keep it short. I'm going to try to keep it under 12 minutes. It's a complicated situation. There's lots of information, but I'm going to break it down into smaller pieces. This introduction is just going to explain why there are specific considerations for the female athlete and why you're going to want to listen later on. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate it. It helps us a lot. I love doing these. If you're looking for more questions or things to say or get answered, please join us at Body Fuel Multisport on Facebook. Message me on YouTube. You can email me directly. My contact information is everywhere. I'll be more than happy to answer some direct questions. So back to female athletes, pound for pound, badass. The ladies in the pictures in the background, you can sort of make them out. Jesse and Olivia are amazing athletes. They can do everything that I've seen any man do, if not better, especially considering they have some considerations that we guys don't have to deal with. Now, you're asking me, hey, wait a minute. Some of you ladies and some of you guys like, dude, what? You're not a girl. You don't have a menstrual cycle. You don't have to deal with the things we deal with. You're right. But most of my clients are women. It's forced me to do a lot of research and a lot of understanding and application to that particular demographic. Look, there are lots of great coaches all over the world in different sports who are amazing coaches, and they've never really played the sport or they didn't do it at a high level, but they can apply the material and the concepts. There are great OBGYNs who are guys. Same thing, man. We just paid attention and we apply it to the appropriate people, and we know what we're talking about. Now, I'm not a female athlete specialist, but I am working my way there with all of my athletes. Why are most of my athletes or clients women? Because they're willing to seek out help. They're not looking for an answer in 45 minutes and then go apply it all like guys. Guys, seriously, you will do it wrong forever, and then you'll come in for a 45-minute consult and expect to just be given all of the answers, and then you can go do it. It doesn't really work that way. Women have caught on to that a long time ago. They want things in small, digestible bits and pieces that can be practiced, reinforced, and then added on to. I find them to be highly successful in a client situation. So, guys, you could learn something from that. Women, why are we even talking about this? Well, off here underneath behind my picture, you're going to notice that in athletes, 16% of them, the 16% of female athletes have 1 or 2 symptoms of energy deficit, negative energy balance. That means they're not eating enough. That's kind of a lot, 16%. That's just on the average female athlete. Now, when we get into endurance sports, that goes up to a 50 or 60%. Why is that? And why is that even dangerous? Well, let me jump up to historically, all of the research has been done on males, male athletes, trained or untrained, 18 to 35. Professionals or amateurs or just college guys or college athletes. That's not okay to trickle that information down to the ladies because they're not small guys. You're not just a smaller frame. All right, smaller lungs, smaller heart, whatever. That's not the only difference. There are some special psychological and physiological considerations for the female, being the menstrual cycle for 1, and the hormones 2, and the social expectations that are placed on women that I don't think men have. There are 2, I don't want to say, they're not, gosh, what are they? Well, they're called Triad and Reds, right? They're conditions is what they are. Triad is a grouping of 3 symptoms. It will be osteoporosis or osteopenia. So we've got some bone mineral density issues. We have negative energy balance or an eating disorder that's contributing to negative energy balance. And we also have an absence or irregularity of a menstrual cycle, so amenorrhea. Men we suffer from REDS, relative energy deficit syndrome. REDS is sort of the new Triad, but I have to say that I think Triad is very specific to women and needs to be left differently. Men, you can definitely suffer from energy deficit, negative energy balance, like we're talking about for the gals. We just don't have some of the other issues, and so I'm going to leave those out. But calorie restriction, what are these special considerations? So women don't eat a lot of food, and women will actually restrict the amount of food that they need despite their training level, despite their goals, so that they can look a certain way, a socially acceptable appearance. And whatever that may be for that particular sport, so whether it's an endurance sport, they need to be nice and thin and lean, but still have curves, some of that softness to the female physique, or whether it's power and sprint sports, instead of being very powerful and muscular, we're still expecting them to look long, lean, and softer, and not softer, but I mean more body fat, less muscularity, for the expectation to say, hey, we want you to look like a woman. Who wants you to look like a woman? Again, that's society, and it's the pressures that cause women to not eat appropriately so that they can fit into a box. I don't think that's good, and that leads us to the arbitrary weight goals that they need to weigh a certain weight, and they restrict their calories. So they're not eating so they can look and weigh a certain way based on society, just pressures. That's something that a guy doesn't really have to deal with. And when the women eat less so that they can look a particular way, they happen to be fighting genetics. Women are going to have more subcutaneous fat. They're going to have a different leg structure. They're going to have larger sweeps. They're typically going to carry more body fat at a particular level of fitness than a man. And they fight it. They're fighting it by eating less. And those lifelong habits lead to more harm than good. And in the young adolescent athlete who's moving up into high school and into college, those habits are likely to lead to eating disorders and not full diagnosed anorexia, bulimia, but ADNOS, eating disorders not otherwise specified, binging, remorse, working out way more than you should to make up for what you've eaten. Those types of eating disorders are also on the spectrum and probably more prevalent. So, functional hypothalic amenorrhea. Functional hypothalic amenorrhea is the second problem or a condition from calorie or restriction or negative energy balance, not getting enough energy in you. And that leads to bone mass loss, osteoporosis and osteopenia, irreversible fertility issues, cardiovascular risk for women who are at this chronic negative energy balance, not eating enough. Your blood lipids can be abnormal, and that can lead to vascular disease. Psychologically, the risks are greater as well. From a dietitian's perspective, lots of people think that we just deal with food and like we're food Nazis. That's not the case. We deal a lot with behaviors, why we're eating, why we have the habits involved around food. So we need to understand them. But the negative energy balance associated with calorie restriction, not getting enough energy while still trying to compete and train, can lead to anxiety, can lead to depression, poor sleeping, and will actually decrease neuromuscular function. That's absolutely harmful to performance. All of the things that you're trying to do by being faster and better and go longer are being derailed by not eating enough, and we need to stop. We need to understand. And I think that's the biggest part of this podcast, is just putting it out there saying, hey, ladies, you are every bit as good as a guy, if not better, pound for pound, and fitness level for fitness level. But if we try to maintain unacceptable or unobtainable social appearance expectations, if we're fighting genetics, if we're trying to meet weight that we don't need to, and you're not doing what's best for your body, these are all very likely results as you get older. And they're preventable, kind of like diabetes type 2. It's preventable. So are these. So we want you to be active. We want you to be super helpful, but we don't want you to hurt yourself and create lifelong issues down the road trying to do it. So Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I hope that you will find us on Body Fuel Multisport. Ask to join the group. It's free. Ask questions there. I put lots of free content out. If you have any specific questions around the female athlete, please text them to me, email them to me, message them on YouTube or in Facebook. I'd happily add them to the next few podcasts. That's all I've got for you right now. We will move on to talking about protein needs for a female athlete. We will talk about hydration. We will talk about macronutrient usage like carbohydrates and glucose. We'll talk about the different phases of the menstrual cycle and how they may or may not affect performance. We'll talk about endurance athletes, and we'll talk about some sprint strength athletes, because the menstrual cycle actually affects women differently depending on what sport or discipline you are in. So there's lots of great topics to cover. We will talk about Triad. We will talk more about the eating disorders. We'll talk more about amenorrhea. We'll talk about the macronutrients and what to do for your sport or as a female athlete. I look forward to moving on and educating everyone to be safer and healthier and faster and better and longer and just have better performance. Andrew signing out for Body Fuel. We'll see you next week.